and welcome to another Super Sunday Showdown match. This game is a team game, a 3v3 in Team 1, Richard, Ollie and Hugo against Team 2, Mark, Fred and Jake. We'll just run down through the civs each player has chosen. We'll start with Richard. He's gone for the Mongols, the cavalry archer civ. A very strong early game. Their hunters work 40% faster. That should give Richard an advantage to pushing up into feudal. Ollie's gone for the Chinese and archer civ. Now, knowing Ollie is a player who likes to defend, likes to boom behind his walls, that should work for him really well. The eco discounts that the Chinese have gives him huge boom potential. It is interesting he gets the extra villager. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on with that, because it's so important to get that first villager out within the first 50 seconds if you want to maintain that villager advantage against your opponents. Hugo has gone for the Japanese, a very strong infantry civ. Their samurais will be ones to watch, an anti-unique unit, so that will be good to see. The infantry also attack faster, so it's going to be fascinating to see how they get on. It's a bit of an oriental team with all of their teams coming from Asian civs. Going on to Team 2, and Marc has chosen the Bulgarians, one of the new DE civilizations. With that, I mean, they've got two fantastic advantages in the Krepost, which is, allows for cheap castle drops. It's a cheap castle, but effectively, which helps to train the unique unit that they use. The brilliantly tricky conic, difficult to counter due to its starting as a cavalry, and when it's killed, turns into an infantry unit. As for Fred, he's gone for the Byzantines, the defensive civ, really the beginner's choice. They have very cheap trash units. Their cataphract, the unique unit, very strong but also very expensive. What's interesting about the cataphract is because it's got such a high attack against infantry, you send pikemen or halberdiers at it, it's going to tear them down, but they are weak to archers. Jake has gone for the Berbers. Now, I believe this was a strategic play by the team to have one of their players as the Berbers. Mark, looking at his conics, using them, with their weakness to archers, the Genitor, which is the unique unit that also acts as a team bonus for anyone playing with the Berbers. It's a mounted skirmisher, effectively, which will help combat some of these archers going for the conics. It also works the same for Fred to protect his cataphract, so a strategic play on choosing the civ. Jake, very familiar with the Berbers, has played them before, but not in the online setting. It'll be interesting to see how they get on. Well, without further ado, let's play. And like usual, we'll just check how everyone gets started, see who starts well, see what happens, and then speed things up to make it interesting. The map is Hill Fort. It was a random land map, and this is the one that came out, a Hill Fort map where all teams are locked inside fortified palisade walls, and it looks like they've started with an abundance of resources. See how Fred starts, and again it's a bit slow from Fred as he seems to struggle to comprehend what he's up against. The two houses are going up, 4 houses are going up in fact. Let's go over to Ollie on the opposing team, and he's already started collecting from his geese, got them right under the TC. You've always got that sort of tendency for them villagers to potentially clash into each other or get stuck when they're so close under the TC, but it seems to be working for Ollie at the moment. Going across to Hugo, and Hugo slightly further out from the TC, collecting his geese, and has all 5 villagers working on food. And the 6th villager has been created. Jake, how's he getting on again? Collecting from his food. He's got 2 houses up. Quite an abundance of food on his side. Going across to Mark, and Mark's collecting the wood. He's got 2 on. He's really struggled. That's a difficult start. Only 4 villagers created so far. He's got 2 on wood, 2 on food. He's got 5 in total. one building that extra house. Well, not a player that enjoys playing behind walls, so this may have thrown him slightly at the start. Richard doing his bit, collecting 6. He's got 6 on food, 2 on wood. Again, so many resources to start with. It's just, you know, finding your feet in those early stages when you're not quite sure what you're going to get. And just have a look around the edges. There's a shallow sort of moat around each hill fort, but plenty of resources around the map to have a look at. And it's just a case of, I think in these kind of games you do have the tendency to sort of sit behind your walls and try and defend it. You've got to try and branch out, expand your borders, and take as much of the map and the resources as possible. Just have a quick look at the Vil count, and Richard leading the way with 10. Oh, it's been a really good start for Richard, Ollie and Hugo. Ollie on 10, Richard on 10, and Richard now on 11, Hugo on 9. Freddie's struggling at the bottom with 6 villagers, 8 for Jake, 8 for Marc. We're going to just speed it on now. Stability count goes up. It's still lacking behind. They've pinged. Just spotted a sort of an area. I think let's have a look what he can see. He's just scouted that and probably identified that as maybe an island or an area where they could potentially scout, expand out. The scouts are moving around trying to identify the map, because I think, you know, you can't. You look at you see the water around your hill forts, and you think maybe we're on islands. What's going on? It's about getting that scouting going, explore as much of the map as possible, find your opponents, then planning that rush. Richard's already expanded out and started collecting resources, and he's the first up into feudal. It's a good start from him. And Ollie follows behind him into feudal. And Ollie has already built a forward base here, just expanded out. He's got a mill going, presumably just to get that villager doing something. And collecting the berry. 2 militia are out. Jake has done the same. He's expanded out. It's brilliant offensive play from Jake. In the previous game, was quite defensive and stuck behind his walls, but seems to have pushed out a fair bit more. And it looks like there's been pings about that militia at that base. Those militia have spotted Marc's scout having a sniff around. And it looks like everyone's into feudal now. Are thriving in Fred's base. He's got plenty of houses. Not a huge military pressure, although the barracks has gone up now. Jake's military base has grown. He's got the archery range and the stable up. Ollie's still just sticking with his barracks, but he's upgraded to men-at-arms. Not much going on. The Hugo, he has got his barracks and he's got his blacksmith up, and a few men-at-arms ready, but you're really not going to fear an early rush when you're in such a good position to start. Oh, and there's an early attack on here. I think it's Richard on Fred, but Fred's got some scouts there to shoo him away. So Fred's scouts are going to have a little wander. And it looks like they're heading for Ollie's forward base. The tower is up. There's plenty of villagers around. And here they come. They've met the men-at-arms. Men-at-arms are pulling back towards the tower. The villagers have garrisoned inside, and it looks like those scouts are going to go down. And the scouts have gone down. Not a very successful attempt to disrupt Ollie's forward base. Meanwhile, Marc has pushed out and he's expanded up further forward. Richard's gone down into this corner and set up his market. Now it's going to be interesting how the trade works. You've got to set your markets up. Probably you're not going to want to set them up inside your walls. You want to maybe, like Fred's done here, just pushed it further back. You're protected behind your hill forts, and you're going to get that distance to generate a bit of revenue. which are continuing to... He's just gone out nice and early and trying to take as many resources as he can get his hands on. And the attack is on Mark's forward base. Hugo going in there with skirms and men-at-arms. Marc fighting off with scouts. Jake's providing support. And it looks like an army of scout cavalry coming from Red's base as well. They're looking to defend this forward line. Jake providing a variety of units here, and Hugo and Richard forced to retreat. Jake is up into Castle Age. He is the first one up into Castle Age. It's been a brilliant game from him so far. Look at that villager count, and leading the way is Richard with 34, closely followed by Ollie with 31. Now, the Chinese, as I said to you earlier, they've got that fantastic, unique sort of a bonus for their Civ where all technologies are discounted. It does mean you can really get a good eco on, getting those economic bonuses nice and early, but cheap, save a lot of resources for the late game. And I'm sure we will find out about the deadly Chucanoos, the unique unit. Ollie, meanwhile, walling up, trying to protect that forward base, although I'm not quite sure he's too fast. Fred and Marc going to try and hit that forward base of Ollie's. But it doesn't look like he's nothing there. It doesn't look like Ollie's thinking about that right now. In they go, they're going to hit it. Surely that will go. One hitting the tower, one got hit the barracks. Everyone up to Castle Age apart from Richard and Marc. Tower's gone. And barracks gone. And that was that. They're expanding out his militaries. Only got 3 military buildings at the moment though. So look at the military count. Hugo's got 14 infantry, 3 range. Jake 11 infantry, 6 range, 2 cavalry. Fred just having the 11 cavalry units at the minute. Very widely spread from Richard, 4, 4 and 5. And Jake and Marc are producing a fantastic forward base here to protect that middle ground and hold it. Then meanwhile expanding down towards the back to get some of those resources with protection. Castle going up from Richard. Not so much a forward base, more of a sideways base. And it's like Stable's gone up on this side. Marc has finally joined everyone in the Castle Age. But his forward base thriving at the minute. Not quite on the Western Front. But I wonder if troops are starting to grow. There is a surge in numbers. And Hugo and Richard have got a bit of infantry kicking around. Ollie, I think, only 3 infantry units. But I think he's happy to sit and let Hugo and Richard do all the fighting. He can boom and hit and maybe come in and have an impact later. What he does like to do. If we let him get that powerful, he almost becomes unstoppable. These two so close together. But I reckon if we have a look, let's have a look at Hugo's. No. Let's go to Jake's visibility, his fog of war. And as you can see, I've got no idea, but they're just about here and here, waiting. Peekaboo. Jake's expanded back, got his another TC up and running. Have a look at the ecos from each player. Everyone on a sort of middle ground. I think it's got a fair amount, but it's a lot of spending at this stage. Not much stockpiling going to be happening until we get to the late game, because everyone's spending, trying to upgrade, trying to build. And here comes some Mangudais. They've taken out one of Marc's villagers, and the Jake's military have been pulled forward, as have Fred's, but they're pulling back now. Castle looks like it's going up from Richard. This middle battle is about to get interesting. And we've got some of those genitors here. As you can see, those cavalry, those mounted skirmishers, effectively. Quite an interesting sort of team bonus from the Berbers is that everyone gets to use those genitors. And Fred's set up a sideways base similar to Richard, just outside of his base. Maybe looking to push down into this area here and have a go at Ollie. Looking at the scores, Ollie would be the one to target at this stage, weaker on the scores, but then again, Fred's worse than everyone, so it's maybe push at your peril, Fred, I think is what we'd say. Ollie putting up the castle behind. Bit of a defensive play. And you think about your castles and your military buildings, you really want to try and push them forward where possible. Especially castles, looking at that castle drop. Krepos has gone up from Marc. Krepos, a fantastically cheap castle, effectively. Which does produce those unique units, those conics. Which, if you're not familiar with them, can be very tricky to counter. Right, Richard is first up into Imperial. And when the Imperial Age comes, so do the Trebs, and so does trouble. Because if you can get some Trebs and start knocking down some of these buildings, Marc and Jake's hold in the middle may start to falter. Jake has gone up to Imperial. It's been a really good game from him. Strongest on the team so far. First of his team up into Imperial. Well, the siege is coming. Hugo providing Mangonel a battering ram. He's set himself up some guard towers, defending nicely. Ollie, meanwhile, just looking to get the boom on. Let's have a look at the villager count. And Ollie not leading the way yet. Jake leading the way with 85 villagers. Richard 75. Lowest at the moment is Hugo with 41, but closely followed by Marc 42, Fred 43. The ping's gone up over here, and it looks like that's where Marc is going to put a castle. Maybe just anticipating a push down the right hand side from Ollie and trying to prevent that. But looking on our screen where we can see everything, we've got Ollie's not really made those intentions. The Chukanoos are out. Now these are tricky little buggers. Incredible fire rate. Very good in big groups, and they're very tricky to get rid of once you've got a lot of them coming at you. One thing you would say is their fifth arrow usually doesn't hit the target. It's very inaccurate, but like I say, if you've got a big group of them, more often than not, they're going to hit and they're going to cause damage, and you're very going to struggle to get anything near them. Meanwhile, rams are coming forward from Richard, Fred fighting them off with his light cavalry, and he's going to take some of those siege out. But the Trebs are getting hits on that Krepost, and that Krepost looks like it's going down very shortly. Here comes the last Treb hit on it, and down it goes. Battering rams looking to push forward, but just holding off for now. Oh, brilliantly played from Richard. He's used houses to sort of keep that trebuchet protected. So there is a gap, and the cavalry have got through, but the castle should help protect them. Battering rams, meanwhile, taking a bit of a battering themselves. But Mangonel there to protect. Good group of villagers from Marc, trying to just stick a Krepos up there, but they're not going to get anywhere near that castle. Ollie, meanwhile, up into the Imperial, just Fred and Marc left to go up to Imperial. Oh, and I've just missed that, but looks like Hugo's caused a bit of damage. With a little squad there of what looks like samurais and pikemen. Meanwhile, just slowly going about his business, collecting the relics. Marc is up to Imperial, so Fred the last one left. Let's have a look at the eco. Let's have a look. Fred is really struggling on those resources. I wonder if you've forgotten to do those techs. Now, if you forget to do those techs, it's going to hurt you in the late game. And it's, you know, if you're not managing properly, or if you're distracted on defending or building up, and you don't think about those eco techs, well, you're going to be struggling to collect as much resources as those other players. I mean, you look and you compare through, and yeah, Fred is only in triple figures in all of them, not into quadrupled. And he's got 49 villagers as well, which will not help. Treb battle's raging on. Marc's got a Treb out and he's trying to hit this castle. The Treb gonna try and knock the Richard's Treb trying to knock Marc's out of the game. Brilliantly protected by Fred and Jake. Mangadai's coming in now and hitting on it, and Mangadai's incidentally very good against siege units. Richard putting up another castle. Jake trying in vain to stop it from going up and kill those Mangadais. Richard managing them well and has beaten off those Genitours. And it's such a clever castle. It's such a clever tactic Richard tends to do. Put up a castle, get villagers building houses around themselves, wall themselves in whilst they build up. Makes it so frustrating to play against them. You know that castle's going up and there's not much you can do about it. Hugo coming in with his pikemen and samurai. They're going to make mincemeat of those light calves. And those light calves. Heavy cavalry riders should do a lot on those Mangadais. The Genitours, but Genitours aren't going to do much against pikemen and samurais. So 2 castles up, and here come the Chickanees. It's not a huge amount, but they do cause the damage and they're very difficult to get close to. Speed this up. Just again, good survival resources. A lot of cows. The Chickanees are waiting. More Trebs coming. Jake's trying to push forward there. The Chickanees though aren't letting them go anywhere. Now Jake's got 3 Trebs up there looking to try and hit this castle. Meanwhile, Richard's Treb trying to take out this TC. It is just a war of attrition now. Who can last the longest? Who's got the resources to keep the middle ground? Hugo making a push with his little infantry group, but it looks like they're going to lose the battle. Chickanees and Mangadais here battling up the top. Sure enough, the Chickanees taking them out pretty easily. That TC's gone down from Marc's TC is down. And if you speed it up, it looks like Richard is... They're just about holding it, Marc and Jake and Fred, but it's mainly Marc and Jake. Fred's not really got any focus here at the moment. He has been sending troops across, but maybe he should have thought about building his base a bit further forward, but maybe he was just conscious of the attack coming in from Ollie on the right hand side. Ollie meanwhile has built further forward, and look at this army of chickanees, roughly 50 or so. They will not be fun to come up against. And meanwhile just sending a little troop through, and it's going to take them out pretty easily with his cavalry and crossbowmen. Fred has finally joined everyone in the Imperial Age. Maybe too little too late. And Richard coming in with the siege rams, looking like Jake and Marc are losing the middle ground. Castle goes down. The siege rams will continue on their spree. Got a trade going on behind here, that's going to help with the gold. Have a look at that eco, and again Fred right at the bottom, not enough resources there to cause it to help in any sort of way. And the chickanees are coming in, and here they go. And they're going to be allowed to hit that TC without any pressure. Fred arriving now with a force. Ollie pushing back to the protection of those castles. Fred spotted it. He's got some cataphracts, but they're not going to be any good against those chickanees. I think Fred will know that. Meanwhile, Hugo pushing on with Richard as they look to secure the middle. Marc appears to be losing it. Jake doing well to support. But the middle ground appears to be lost by Marc. And well, Jake's still got a good forward base here. And hopefully, for their sake, they can hold on to it. Richard continuing to push forward. Another castle up by Jake. Fred finally sort of amassing a bit of a force. Now what's he going to do with it? I mean, if you're looking at, there's a huge gap here that Fred can just get his troops going down that corridor. And I mean, look, it's still fortified palisade walls. It's not a huge lot of protection. You get in there and disrupt. And, you're getting into two teams there and disrupting their ecos. Meanwhile, Jake pushing up on Hugo, trying to knock down those treads. Jake doing really well to push Richard and Hugo back. But the camels will be no match for those pikemen. Mangadai is now making life hard for those genitors. Ollie's chickanee's about to chuck a load of arrows and cause some chaos. Here they come. Let's look at the scores, and Ollie up to second in the scores. Now, I did talk about his military presence early in the game, not being almost non-existent, but look at that, 96th range, all chickanees no doubt. They are terrifying, those units. Watch them go, bang, 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 bang. Not going to do much against the castle though, he needs to get them in amongst units and villages. Samurai's running all over the place here from Hugo, just chasing a camel. Alright, that TC's going to go down with help from a tread and those chickanees. And look at that, bang! Oh, see you later, villagers. He walked straight into an army of chickanees there. Not clever. Not Jake's fault. Just decided to come out into the open. I guess they have to once the TC takes a certain amount of damage. Maybe Jake could have put a garrison point away from the TC, but easy from where I'm sitting, of course. Let's expand it out the back, some houses, and get no villagers hitting that wood. See how if his eco's improved at all. And yeah, his eco's gotten a lot better, but still not quite where the others are. You look at Ollie's, he's at 5,600 gold, stockpiling it. And sure enough, and when you've got that much gold and that much wood, you're going to be hitting the chickanees. that. Well, Jake's forward base is gone, and they pushed into his main base. Hugo with the halberdiers. Not looking good now. And what you do tend to find is once one player goes down from a 3-player, the other 2 will shortly follow. Jake has got a base back here that he may look to rebuild from. Still got a good eco going, Jake, so I don't think he will be worried, but it's not like he's out of this game completely. They are pushing through onto Marc now, and that's the trouble with this hill fort. Look at the gap, it just allows, if you get into one base, you're getting into all 3. And sure enough, Hugo's units pushing through and just targeting the villages. Chickanees, meanwhile, making their presence heard over here. Marc's struggling to hold them off. Red's sending in what looks like paladins and skirmishers. You would think would be the ideal counter units to a Chickanee, but when you've got this many, it's a wonder if you can get anywhere near them. Paladin's going down and not really able to get any hits on the Czechs. Camels there as well, brilliantly done by Ollie, identifying the potential for people to hit these Czech canoes with cavalry, sends in an army of camels, and sure enough, Fred really didn't have a chance. Ollie now pushing through into Marc's little forward base here. And looks like the battle is surely won. They will try and hold on for as long as they can, but delaying the inevitable at this stage. Especially when Ollie's got an army like this. And an eco like that. Richard as well, fantastic eco. Not as much gold, but maybe that's because he's spent most of it. Jake's recovered well. He's done well with that base behind the hill fort. It was big enough to sort of support when the main base went down. And to be fair, it's looking like they might do alright. Marc is really struggling. I don't see any other alternative bases. Meanwhile, Ollie looking to make a push on Fred's forward base. He's decided wisely to pull back from the castle and let the trebuchet do all the work. Fred's really got nothing to respond with apart from building a wall. He's already making his feelings felt here. Doesn't feel like he can defend it, so he doesn't feel like he can push out and attack that army, so he's just going to wall them out. But it may be too little too late at this point. He's got all the villagers building it up. Let's see if it does all go up and a reasonable amount, but I think, yeah, it's too much to wall up, and the chicken is going around the back. Villagers killed. TC looks like it's going to go down. More chickanees on the way. Here come the chickanees. They're evil. They're fantastic. They're on your team. Richard, meanwhile, galloping a few Mangadies through. Maybe looking to get at Jake, perhaps? Or just having an explore, see what's around here. And Jake's got... Look at this response from Jake. Coming back from losing his forward base, he's got a nice, huge army coming forward. Look at this. And they're all chasing after those 5 Mangadi. Jake's decided to, priorities. Get his priorities right, and he's sending his genitors forward, maybe to hit those chickanees. Seems to have abandoned his main base. Makes sense considering Marc's has been decimated and Jake's has been taken over. Oh, they're hanging on for so long, but surely only a matter of time now. Jake putting up a worthy fight, putting out some troops. Oh, and those onagers doing really well against the chickanees. Ollie not quite managing in there, has realised it now. Well, where that came from though, here come the camels. And what's this over here? And there's just more and more. Fred holding them off, but surely they're going to come pouring in very soon. That's been made, even though they could just go around the back if they wanted to. Jake bringing in support from behind. His other castle is down. The camels are coming in. Chicken is providing range support. Sure enough, the camels are taking over. Ollie's got fantastic eco. That trade, that's such a good trade route right down the bottom of the map. Completely protected and generating a vast amount of gold. Forward base is toast. He needs to have walled himself in on this side, but running out of room, giving the map, giving the resources to the other team. Marc's attempting a rebuild. But Ollie, sea of yellow, about to flood through Fred, Jake and Marc and Phil. And I mean, look at that, 10,000 gold at this stage of the game. And gold tends to be running out. Hugo's resigned. I don't know why that would be. Maybe he's lost connection. His team are winning. It must be a lost connection. He did have some issues with it earlier in the when this game was attempted to be played earlier on. But it's 2v3, and you just feel, I think, even so, if Hugo out of the game, it's still going to be difficult for Jake to play the Marc to come back from this. Ollie just getting those camels to knock out what looks like a mining camp that was in the way. Surely now they come flooding through. Ollie looks to have made more. Let's just have a look at the army count. And well, Ollie's got 105 range units, 54 cavalry, 17 infantry, 9 siege units. Jake, to be fair to him, has got 39 cavalry units. Richard, meanwhile, making a push down this side. It looks like they're going to sandwich the 3 players right in at the back there. Richard coming from the left, Ollie from the right. Here they come. Just flooding through. Richard's men have broken through, but they're going to meet a few genitors and cavalry on the way. And here comes Ollie, sending them through. He's really got no chance here. He's got 20 ranged units. They're all standing up here though, like lemons. Here come the chickadees. There we go, tearing through the town. Richard, meanwhile, pushing through on Jake from the other side. I've just noticed Jake's picking up a few villages there, maybe just to wind up the opposition. pushing through, and there's more to come. Look at this. 153 range units, 119 cavalry, 17 infantry. It's a huge army from Ollie. It's frightening. Richard is in and well and truly causing considerable damage to Jake's eco. Don't think he can come back from this. I don't think Jake could ever come back from this. I think once they've lost that hill fort, it's kind of a case of if and not, it's a case of when, not if. Ollie looking to push through into the hill fort. They appeared to regain it. I think maybe just because Richard and Ollie left it alone. Oh well, here they come. Look at this, no chance. Talk about overkill. But it's just a wonderful army. Jake getting pommeled by Richard. Marc seems to be surviving with his little village, but I don't know how long that's going to last. Ollie's gotten through Fred's and Richard's come through Jake's. It will just be a case of a bit of a squish. Got this stream of units coming through, more Chickanees. The military count going up for Ollie. He's got more yellow over here than he has his own base at the minute. Fred's base gone. Just hanging on for pride, I reckon. Again, Jake putting up a valiant defence as is Marc, but you're outnumbered, outgunned. And here comes Ollie. Fantastic game from this team. They lost the middle ground early, but got it back. And once they got it back, it made life very difficult for Fred, Marc, and Jake. Ollie able to boom with little pressure. Seemed to have that early forward barracks, but didn't really seem to mean anything. Fred and Marc destroying it, but Ollie allowed to boom inside his palisades, and well, once he booms, you can see what happens. Just look at it. Absolute legion. Sorry, treasure shows. 9 treasure shows there. And Marc has been defeated. All of his units out of the game. Jake probably hanging on with those villages. One's made a run for it and been taken out. Not sure how Fred's doing this. Maybe once his barracks will go down, he'll be out too. I think sometimes when you get to this point, you really just, rather than resign, you want them to have to go through the painstaking effort of destroying every single building and unit. And Fred is out. It's just up to Jake and his 3 villagers. They have used spies, but on a map that's got quite a lot going on, it can still be difficult to see. And Jake walling himself in. Spies again used. Haven't been spotted yet. Oh, they've made a run for it, and they are going down. One's carrying on his run, but he's just evaded those. Surely he'll get spotted soon enough, and sure enough, he's down. The game is over. A brilliant victory for Ollie, Richard, and Hugo. Although Hugo was disconnected, maybe too early. He was doing well. To be fair to him, his samurais and pikemen causing problems, as well as putting those siege units up early doors in the middle. Ollie, like we said, look at all the yellow. Look at all the yellow. It's just such a fantastic military he's got. I mean, look at it down here. 189 range units, surely all of them Chickanos. 114 cavalry units. 33 is that? 33 siege weapons. Richard, 147 infantry, 64 range units, 1 cavalry unit, 20 siege units, 84 cavalry archers. The Mangadais causing a lot of problems. A fantastic battle on the hill forts. I think once this middle part was lost by Marc, Jake and Fred, I think that's where they lost the game. They did well to hold it early on, but once you lose that middle ground, once you get that resource deficit, once the other teams start having more resource and collecting more than you, you're always going to be on an uphill struggle. It was a game, not relatively long game, nearly 2 hours. Looking at the military, Richard killed the most units, destroyed the most buildings. Ollie, however, had the largest army only by 8 units, 368 though. That's phenomenal. When you compare it to the other scores on the board, it just shows what a fantastic economy he had. Let's have a little look at it. And Ollie collected the most gold, as we expected, 51,000. Closest to that was Richard, who got 29,000, 31,000 trade profit as well. He does love a good trade cart, Ollie. And you could see it just down the bottom, making that fantastic trade route across the bottom of the map. Going on to technology, Richard was first up to feudal, first to imperial. Jake was first to castle. It was a good performance from Jake, and he does deserve that MVP for his side. I think Richard has got the MVP for his team, but Ollie definitely a close second. Jake, though, a fantastic performance by him, showed early aggression by putting that forward base up straight away, continued to provide support for his teammates through his cavalry, but unfortunately just got outnumbered and outgunned towards the end. Having a look at the society, 7 castles from Richard, 3 relics from Ollie. Again, he's just so good at mining that gold. Loves a bit of gold, Ollie does. 4,000 relic gold, adding to that 50,000 mined gold and the however much at 31,000 trade gold. Richard having the highest villages, 144. Jake, 108, second highest. And there's your timeline. Well, it's been a fantastic battle. A very difficult match for Marc, Fred and Jake. They started well, but like I said, they lost the middle ground. They ended up losing the battle to a superior eco. When you've got someone like Ollie on the team who can boom, just look at this timeline. You can see it's very small, and soon enough it just grows and grows and grows, and it just becomes unstoppable. One of the biggest ones in there. Richard as well, credit to him, same sort of thing. But I think but he sort of was aggressive throughout the game. Ollie sort of bided his time, and it's quite lucky he had the teammates around him to support him in doing that. But it's been a fantastic game. I'm looking forward to the next one. We will see you again soon. Good night.